Welcome to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Fremont Unified School District Superintendent Jim Morris. The school year has ended, and before we break for summer, we'd like to focus our season finale on a very important partnership here in Fremont. The relationship between a school district and its community is crucial to the success of both. Since its creation in 1964, the Fremont Unified School District has enjoyed a positive and productive relationship with the City of Fremont to the benefit of both students and residents. Both organizations had or are about to have a change in leadership, and with us today to discuss this important collaboration of Fremont and the City of Fremont is our Mayor, Lily May, as well as Fremont Unified School District Assistant Superintendent of Instruction and incoming Superintendent, Dr. Kim Wallace. It really is a pleasure to welcome both of you to my final show of Community Conversations. I want to start with you, Mayor May. Really talk about that shift you've made from council member to mayor and how the experience has gone and what's been different about it.
So I'm very excited to have had the opportunity, and as you know, not just the transition from city council to mayor, but I formerly had the opportunity and pleasure to work with both of you in my role as a school board member. So those give me different insights. For the city council to the mayor, while we're serving the same constituency and the city as a whole, it is a different role because right now we've gone through a lot of transitions in our city and a lot of different issues, whether it's at the federal level, state level, and even here in our district. And so taking the leadership reins of helping to drive the governance of the council is very exciting, especially since we're looking at some changes that we recently adopted in terms of how the districts are being represented. In the past, the city has always been at elections overall at the whole city level, and now we're going to be looking at council members representing six different districts, and as well as additional council members joining me on the city.
Well, you really have a unique perspective among elected officials in Fremont because you had the experience of serving on the school board and on the city council. What do you see as similarities or similar interests or differences between the two entities?
So some of the similarities that you see that are wonderful is the fact that both the mayor as well as the school board members are at large, and so that the constituency, and it gave me a great opportunity serving and talking to the parents, the community members, and the different activities that we have, whether it's summer school or different programs, that you get to really know your neighbors and your community members. But what's different, and I was telling people honestly, is that when it comes to schools, I think nothing gets people more excited or more passionate than their children. From the city side, it gives me an interesting perspective now as I look at how we partner with different companies and how we build the workforce of the future. And I'm very pleased to see how Fremont's been a consistent partner in so many different areas, whether it comes to the development of these and partnerships with different local companies. We're using a program coming up, a joint partnership with the Fuse program, and we're excited to be working with the school district and finding a resource of somebody to help lead us on our initiatives on maker education. And it's the approach that we work on in terms of the next steps for the school district, and I look forward to working with Dr. Wallace. So there's just a lot of different nuances, but certainly my experience and time spent here help me have a different perspective and understanding of how critical things are. I also think that it allows me, when I look at situations such as housing and development, to recognize that when it comes to projects, how important infrastructure is for our communities, citizens, and the quality of life. And quality of life is not just the schools itself and the housing availability for the students, but it's also about traffic and about safety. And so those are all things that we need to consider and partner on and working on addressing with our policies as well as decision making.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you bring all of your past experiences to this role and your deep knowledge of the two institutions. I think it's a similar experience that Dr. Wallace has, having worked in other school districts. And then you come in now having really become kind of a Fremont insider after 3 years, stepping into this superintendent role. Do you have any observations about the strength of the partnerships you've seen coming into Fremont compared to, I mean, we're better than anybody else anyway.
Oh, I was going to say,
We're
you don't
a little
have to get me to talk
names,
bad
but
about
what are your observations coming in with your unique set of background experiences to what's happening you see in Fremont?
I think that what I've said before is that Fremont Unified is the best run school district I've ever been part of. I think the organization, the relationships, the communications, the connections, and that really has to do with our city partners as well. Having just pick up the phone, hey, Lily, what's going on with this? And we can have that conversation and really cut to the chase around, here's the issue that the school district's dealing with. Is the city have a similar issue, or where do we have this common ground that we might seek a solution together? Because as Mayor Mayotte was talking about, really we have a lot of shared questions and concerns and thoughts around where we want Fremont to be in the coming years. And so we have to look at what are our short-term issues and challenges, but really more importantly, where are we looking at 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I think both of our commitments to the city and to the school district is certainly a long-term one. So we really have a common goal at the end of the day. And I think that I won't speak to my past experiences in my other school districts because I was in a different situation, but moving from an assistant superintendent into the superintendent role, I think that I'm just widening my scope because I've been very much focused on the instructional realm, but I will be working much more in the business realm as well as human resources, so the whole gamut will be part of my job instead of this one arena, and so I look forward to those connections.
It's interesting to hear the two of you talk because both of you have a vision of how to make our city and community better through partnership. You really think about it. For many members of the public, what they know is the city and the school district, when there's a crisis, something happens, man, the Fremont Police Department is there to protect kids, first and foremost, number one. The Family Resource Center steps up when we need a resource. But it really is the leadership having that long-term vision. Yes, we respond to the day-to-day stuff very, very well, and we really have that down. Really talking about that long-term vision, I think one of the things at council meetings you'll hear talked about quite a bit, and at school district meetings is what's happening with building and development in the community, and where are we going? How can we work together to make it better for residents and for students and families?
Well, from the long-term vision for the city, I know that there's a lot of needs, and we often hear from the residents how expensive it is to live here. And so we recognize that there is a need for affordable housing, and also as we work with different partnerships, such as some of our corporate partners, they're looking for that ability to house their employees nearby, and that would help us address the traffic issues. But having worked so closely with the schools and living here for 25 years and getting to have fresh perspectives from our community members, it's the balance between those two, is looking at the growth that we have, but also be able to understand how this impacts infrastructure-wise in the community on the quality of life. And so that's where we want to have good planning mechanisms with the school district. So as we look at projects, as we look at infrastructure or roadways, a good example is recently with the Robeson Homes, and there was a project that was being built there, but one of the biggest impacts to that school was the drop-off and pickup, and so then therefore working with our police closely with the residents and the people on safety patrol to try to mitigate some of those concerns. There are no perfect solutions at this point, and unless we have all traffic disappear and we have instant housing, but I think planning for those types of impacts is critical, and it's not just our partnership with the school district, but how we represent each other and help to make sure that there's awareness, whether it's with AC Transit on the bus routes. I know a couple years ago the school district had to reduce some of the busing services, but then to pick up from those, because our students need to get to school and to have the educational opportunities, is to make sure that the routes are there. And so for myself, I get the opportunity as the mayor to be on the Alameda County Transportation Commission. And so when I look at projects that are in the pipeline in the future, it's really important for me to be able to talk to the school district and find out what these are positive impacts that you need, and how can we address or make changes. Another example I can think of is when the school district gave feedback on a park opportunity up in the Forest Park area, and we were looking at building sidewalks and to our parks. Rather than us looking at what we think is just aesthetically pleasing or attractive for landscaping, but actually talking to the school principal and the parents and residents that live around there on what were their safety concerns, so that when we implement changes, that it's something that really benefits the community as a whole. And we look forward to those partnerships because they're critical at this moment.
And I think your point is so clear that it really is the school folks understanding the needs of the city, because oftentimes, the school district has seen is, well, we're just the folks who are fussing about anything being built or developed. Actually, it probably short-sighted on everybody's side, because we need to have houses, because we need to have people living in our city, and a certain amount of development and a certain degree of residential growth is just needed to keep the city strong and vibrant. At the same time, it's just a matter of people having those conversations and hearing, what are your needs? What are your needs as a school district? I think that's where we found our greatest success. And I think for Dr. Wallace coming into the role of serving as the superintendent, I think the communication and the information sharing is probably going to be your greatest asset. And I really want to talk about other ideas where the two of you see opportunities for greater collaboration, because by sharing that information, working together, we can strengthen the city. What are some areas where you'd like to see more cooperation, collaboration between the school district and the city?
Some of the other areas that I've heard a lot of feedback on from the residents is concerning mental health, and whether it's the homelessness, public safety, and then certainly as being a parent of teenagers and talking to the community members, the types of resources that are needed to support our students and their families, allowing people to understand that to not have the stigma of seeking help. And so we've worked on public service announcements. We've worked to partner with the counselors at the schools with our Fremont Family Resource Center, even things with at-risk youth. A lot of these programs are the reason why the school district is succeeding. So not in addition to having summer school, which is one of the programs that the school district has maintained and continued even through challenging times, having programs like the Fremont Youth Resource Empowerment Academy over at the Fremont Family Resource Center, where we work with La Familia and we catch our students at risk and put them to positive programs, whether it's building more artist expression and also public community service. We have some of the students also helping out with our senior center. So realizing then how even as a youth you can engage the community and make a difference. And that's one of the things I think Fremont has done an excellent job of partnering and building that awareness, and we have such support that we're very proud of to see in the school district and from our community members. We've seen it in so many of the elections and support for parcel taxes and bonds, because the community does have a degree of trust in the school district. And certainly, Dr. Morris, you've been a great role model and spokesperson for that, and I'm so excited to also continue this relationship with Dr. Wallace moving forward. That tightness in terms of our relationship, working on traffic, working on public safety, is really what's going to help drive the vision of the city. We're going through so many changes, as I mentioned, whether it's through districting or just the growth and the impact of traffic. We were talking earlier this evening, and communications are not just the quarterly meetings that we have. We also have started a community liaison committee, and we have 2 representatives from the city council and 2 representatives from your school board that have monthly meetings. And I'm looking forward to how we work together to address things like how do we get people out of their cars to bike and walk to school, safe routes to school. And I really commend the school district for helping us partner on funding to ensure that we are doing a study of not just some of the schools, but 100% of the schools in the city on looking at how to get the kids to and from schools, how do we get more encouragement and participation from the parents, and then ourselves as council members and myself as a mayor. I'm very happy to do that, having served formerly on the safety patrol. It's something that I think it's critical in building that education awareness, finding private partnerships. I'm looking forward to how we as a city also address the last mile. And we're looking at our new elementary school coming up in the next year and a half. That's going to be in the Warm Springs area. And how do we get people to and from the new housing, the new jobs, as well as the new park that's going to be there. So, I'm hopeful for how we build this relationship.
As student mental health has been an issue and a concern that's come up from a lot of parent groups and from students themselves, talking about just the stress of being a student in the early 21st century and all the challenges that they face. So that's definitely an issue that we share. And then also something that you mentioned briefly earlier was the Fuse Fellow. So we have a person coming on board who we're sharing between the city and the school district to really focus on our students in the manufacturing and maker space arena, and really preparing our students for jobs that barely exist and might exist in the future. And so I think that one thing that has been a place for more development in the district is our college and career opportunity and readiness path. And so we're working a lot on our college and career indicators, what makes a student ready in our elementary schools and our junior high and our high school to be college and career ready. And so I think that there's some great opportunities for partnerships around that as well.
I'm very excited to hear about that, especially from the workforce side. When I talk to so many of the companies in the area, one of the challenges that we're looking at in the future is not that jobs are going to necessarily go away, but it's how we prepare our students and our workforce to be ready for those jobs and having the different skill sets. I often tell the students when I first got out of school, one of my first jobs was demonstrating word processing machines. And they have no idea. I have to explain to them it's a fancy electronic typewriter. Looking at how some people might say with manufacturing, would that eliminate some of these needs? But having toured a lot of these facilities, whether contract manufacturers or clean tech and biotech and high tech, there's still human involvement. And there's a lot of opportunities for jobs that people don't realize that we can build either apprenticeship programs, certification programs, that we can work on educating, especially through our ROP programs too, building that workforce and internships or externships for our teachers also, so that they can be prepared to come back and share what they've learned in industry with the students.
Well, and you think about what Fremont needs to continue to be a strong, vibrant community, and it really is. One of the things as a school district, we do a great job of preparing incredible young people. But I think, as Dr. Wallace pointed out, we don't know what the world is going to look like. We can't imagine what it's going to look like 5 years from now. And so it really is preparing students in a way that they will have the interpersonal skills, some of those soft skills, but also the flexibility in the way that they work and the way that they think to be prepared for the future. If you, Mayor May, could kind of close by telling us a little bit about what you think your goals are for the future of Fremont. How is it that you see your leadership really helping to take Fremont to become an even more incredible place to live and work?
Well, really fortunate that Fremont is the fourth largest city in the Bay Area, and we have such a wealth of diversity and cultures and heritages. That's one of the things I think that makes Fremont very special, in the sense that we have an ecosystem that allows us to embrace that diversity. And then there's a strong value of education, which is why I think the relationship with the school district is so important. It's also, next to Tesla, the second largest employer for us in this city. And so therefore the teachers, the janitors, the custodians, and secretaries are all very critical members of our community to ensure that we support the availability of those. And I know that's been a challenge at times. We've talked about that in the community, to find affordable housing, to be able to get the students ready for the future. So for me, I see my role as the mayor as be able to attract the jobs, to be able to build recognition in our community for the needs for job opportunities as well as housing opportunities, but then to balance those with looking at the quality of life and to ensure that the people in the community have a voice. I'm very excited always when I go back to the schools, and it's still, to me, one of my favorite places to visit. I love everything from the elementary schools, and when I walk into a third grade classroom and I asked them, "What are you studying?" One of the kids looked up and said, "We're studying you." And they're talking about local history. Or when I go talk to the high school and college students and we're looking at their plans as they go off to college or other future apprenticeships or other career opportunities, how to make sure that they have the skill sets, and working with the companies, and as they come here to Silicon Valley, to encourage them to support the programs that develop the workforce that they need, so that we have, selfishly as a parent of college students, people that can return back to successful jobs, that they can live, learn, and raise a family here successfully. And so the more that we can partner with all of you, that's how I can see that. And so whether it's everything from our council and your school district working together, or us setting up policies and being the person that can carry that vision and direct the council to work together and be collaborative. I know it's tough times federally and state, but we can show here within our district that we can agree to respectfully disagree and work together to come together just for solutions.
And what's in the best interest of the city. I really appreciate the time that you both spent today. In closing our show, I really, on behalf of Community Conversations, need to thank Mayor May and Superintendent Wallace. Our school district motto says we are here to educate, challenge, and inspire. And when you have strong, courageous leaders who really believe in educating, challenging, inspiring the students and the people of Fremont, we know our school district is in good hands. So for all of us at Community Conversations, thank you for watching.